What cruise ship did you work for?
I worked for Norwegian Cruise Lines.
Okay.
So I was on 4 different ships.
What did you do?
I started off as a TV coordinator, and then I was a host, and then I did some stand-up type stuff.
Stand-up?
Stand-up comedy?
Tried to, I dabbled in that a little bit.
Tell us a joke.
Stuff. I knew that was coming.
I thought
that was a task.
I pictured you like swabbing a deck.
Ready?
I'm ready.
All right, we're ready. Hey, you know how we do it here. Back with episode number 93 of the Sarasota SpeaX podcast. As always, my name is Brad Hannon.
Trey Strong.
Felipe Colon.
That is not how we always do it here, Trey Strong. But what's up, Trey Strong?
I think I'm switching my name.
Oh, man. Well, it's not about him anyways. It's about the great guests we have on. And you've heard of MarineMax. Don't know if you've heard of this guy, but MarineMax is all over the place. And this guy happens to be the president of what? The
West Coast of Florida.
Okay.
Yes.
Jason LeFevre. How you doing, Jason?
Sounds like a fancy title, but it's not that fancy. No, I'm doing good.
It's big time, man. How many boats are you overseeing?
Well, I guess in a calendar year, at least 300 to 400, I would say, everywhere from St. Pete, Clearwater, Venice here.
Okay.
So we've moved some boats in and out.
And MarineMax is nationwide, is that?
We are.
Okay. So
actually international technically. I mean, we have nationally we have 70 plus retail locations in the US. When you go overseas is when we get into our marina and our super yacht aspect of the business, which
that's more my alley.
Yeah, I mean that's when you're going 100-foot plus.
Yeah,
so,
that's why we haven't met before.
Yeah,
okay.
exactly.
Well, listen, MarineMax is known for obviously the boats, but also Aquapalooza. I want to jump into that because it's upcoming, and then we'll backtrack into kind of MarineMax and look, there it is, Aquapalooza.
Look at us.
What a party, dude! It's a great time. I think Trey and Morgan are committed to going this year with Mike, huh?
Yeah.
But tell us how this idea came about and where that came from.
Actually, Aquapalooza originally was started by Sea Ray in Tennessee, where their corporate office is or was. And they used to have a party, and they did it all the time, and it was kind of a big thing to do out on their rivers and lakes. And then it kind of faded away for a while. I guess Sea Ray just kind of got out of that being known as a party. And several years went by, and I thought...
They classed up a little bit.
Yeah. I was like, they got a little tight on the budget.
Grow up, Peter Pan.
Here in Sarasota, we were just looking for something to do. I mean, as far as, get people in the water. So many people love boating, but most people don't know what to do with their boat. They go to their same 3 or 4 spots, and that's about it. They go to Jewfish Key, they go to shore, they go down to Venice, and that's about all they're going to do. So based on where our location is, if you're familiar on New Pass, I'm just getting sucked into looking at the video.
It's so hard. It's so hard to not look at.
Cut that shit, Eric.
So ultimately, we found that there's a huge sandbar right in front of where we are, and we have land and we had power. So I said, we could put a couple bands right here and play over the water.
Yeah.
The music's going to carry. And first year we did it, we probably had like 50 boats. Then it was 100, and then it was 200, and then as you can see on that video, I mean, now it's up to 500, 600, 700 boats show up to this thing.
That's
What's
awesome.
the date this year?
The exact date I'm not positive off the top of my head, but I know it's Memorial Day weekend. We do it the Sunday of Memorial Day weekend every year.
So it should be like
Monday to recover.
Should be around the 23rd-ish, according to Eric and my memory. But around Memorial Day, it's Sunday of Memorial Day weekend. I remember last year we were staying at Fisherman's Cove. The 25th is the exact date. We stay at my family, my wife, the kids. We stay at Fisherman's Cove sometime up in like Terracea, and rented a little pontoon boat. And we went to Aquapalooza with the kids and all. I mean, it was a blast. Even with the kids, it was still a party. So really good time. Definitely need some boater safety out there.
Absolutely.
It's a little crazy, but how many boats were out there last year, you said?
I think last year it had to be between 600 and 700 boats.
Yeah, it was
there.
crazy.
So a little bigger than the Sea Ray one. I think we might have a better sandbar than they do in Tennessee.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, not to mention, it used to be just Sea Rays were invited, but at the end of the day, boaters all share the same DNA in a sense. So
Plus, you guys sell a lot more types of boats.
Yeah. We opened it up to everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we had 70-foot yachts out there. We had everything.
I almost drowned. I was coming around. There was a boat here, and there was a gap, and there was a spot to anchor right here, and I was coming around this way, but I didn't see one of those little tiki boats, like the little discs basically on the water, was coming this way. And so as soon as I hit this, I'm like, crap, I had to drift for a second and hold on to this boat so I didn't hit it, let the tiki goat boat go through, jump in the water. It was too deep, and yeah, it was not the prettiest anchoring job, but it wasn't my fault. You know, I look like the, you know, the rookie out there, but it wasn't me. It was the other guy.
It just takes one or two people that don't know what they're doing to kind of put a little kink in the plans, but you know, hopefully most people have a general idea what's going on.
And even if you know what you're doing, it's not like a car where you just stop, right? The conditions are changing. You know, if you're not on the boat,
got to play the wind, baby.
Yeah, there's a million different variables. So
exactly, boats don't have brakes.
So that's obviously gets you guys some publicity, and you know, gets you some eyeballs. Do you guys run big boat specials around the same time?
You know, we're always running some sort of special. It all depends on the inventory we're carrying at the time. You know, what the manufacturers might be pushing out. For a long time during, you know, the last, I don't know, 4 years ago, I mean, there was really no specials coming out from the manufacturers. They didn't need to discount anything.
Yeah.
You know, for a time period, we would carry between 1 and 2 boats in inventory. And just to give you an idea, our typical,
like every type, essentially.
No, just like 3 years ago during COVID, during the boom, we could own maximum boats we would have on the lot would be 1 or 2.
Wow.
That's how fast everything was selling. Today we have 60.
Wow.
So normally we carry between 50 and 60 boats in inventory, which will give you variety of different lengths, different brands that we carry, different colors. We'll have all of that so you can choose. But back during the big, you know, that was our, you know, COVID was the greatest thing that ever happened to the boat business. I mean, it's probably not the greatest thing that's happened to a lot of people, but
to humanity, maybe.
Yeah, I know. Just feel bad saying that.
You make a good point, and I like how you were really straight up with us.
Yeah.
Like during COVID, there were no specials.
Yeah.
Getting a boat was special. That was the special
one.
to be able to get one.
I mean, we would have people call and say, "What do you have in stock?" And I'd say, "I have
take it.
one." And what color is it? Red. Well, I don't like red. I'm like, okay, well, 15 minutes from now, somebody's going to like red.
Yeah.
You know,
somebody's PPP loan is going to like red.
Oh, jeez. Somebody's going to wrap that red boat blue and call it a day.
Yeah. So crazy. That was a good time, but you know what it did in a lot of ways. It kind of, I don't want to say it hurt the market, but it put a lot of people in boats that didn't have boats before because it just became such a hot thing to do. A lot of those people, the average boat owner, believe it or not, you guys are all Sarasota guys. You probably know this from your friends. They don't own a boat more than 2 to 3 years. You know, they're constantly flipping them.
They break.
Yeah,
they got to get a new
they
one.
do break.
Well, they either want bigger or they say mercy.
Yeah,
right.
They want bigger.
They don't want to spend the money, or they want bigger.
So they're trading them in now. Those from that time.
For someone that's oblivious to the boat business like me, not a big boater, I get invited
oblivious
on a lot of
most
boats.
things that aren't roofs, really.
So you want to explain what services you guys offer? You obviously sell boats. You store boats. Do you repair boats?
Yep.
Body and mechanics?
We do some of the stuff we have to subcontract out.
Okay.
They don't have bodies, Trey. They have hulls.
Yeah.
It's a hull.
A lot of fiberglass. So we do, you know, all engine repairs, you know, diesel engine work, generator repairs, Seakeeper. We can do a lot of fiberglass work, paint work. So basically we can fix the boat unless the insurance company says it's totaled. We can put it back together.
Okay.
I would assume a lot of your engine work is warranty work.
Most of it, yeah. Usually within the first 3 to 5 years, and most of it's going to be covered under warranty.
Trey, you know what a warranty is.
I do.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's new and used boats. You guys are selling new and used.
Yeah. The used ones we sell are really only our trade-ins.
Right.
We also offer brokerage services, which is similar to real estate, where we will take a listing, meaning that the customer still owns the boat. He wants to sell it, just like in real estate. We'll take the listing, we'll promote it, sell it, and we take a small commission.
Right. Kind of like a consignment type deal. Yeah, I mean that's for people that aren't selling boats every day, probably very beneficial, right? You want this number, I want this number. So if we have to mark it up a little bit, and your listings are getting a lot more views and looks than your average, so it works out for both sides.
I mean, the average yacht owner at Marina Jack's is not going to want to pick up the phone every 10 minutes to answer 45 questions about his boat. You know, he just wants somebody to handle that for him.
I would think it's also great for the customers, right? Because some of the boats, if you want a specific configuration, you're going to have to wait.
Yeah.
People buying boats with that price don't like waiting.
No.
Newsflash, right? So if they have one that's under consignment or used, that's a couple years old.
And they want exactly what they want.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're very specific in what they want. You know, they want somebody that knows what they're talking about representing it. And then ultimately, you know, it's kind of it's for safety reasons. You got a guy representing the buyer, you got a guy representing the seller. And when they come together, there's going to be negotiation type things that have to go on that the owners really don't. They need somebody that knows what they're talking about in the middle,
Right.
to make sure that everything's surveyed and checked and inspected and all that good stuff.
So on the topic of boat buying, right? Because a lot of people probably get into this by, happenstance, or they want a boat and then they start looking and they start figuring out what they want. And maybe what they buy isn't what they ultimately wanted. I see that happen a lot. Bought a boat that's too small, or bought a boat that doesn't get skinny enough, or bought a boat that you can't get offshore far enough, or whatever the case is. What would your advice be? We always like to educate the audience on topics that our guests are experts in. What would be your advice to somebody besides, hey, come shop at MarineMax?
Right.
Yeah. Because that's an obvious one. But what is the
great advice?
Well, yeah, that is great advice. What is the best advice you have for like a new boat buyer?
I think maybe just to take their time a little bit. You don't want to rush into it. And the one thing that I'll say about boat buying is you're probably never going to nail it on the first go around. You're probably going to buy something that's 80% of exactly what you want. Yep. And that's okay. You just got to work your way up to the fact, not work your way up literally. I mean, you can go smaller or whatever, but you got to work your way. You're going to find that things that you thought you were going to do on your boat, you don't actually do.
Right.
Give us an example.
Well, a lot of people, for example, they'll come in and they'll say, oh my God, I have to have a boat with a cabin that has air conditioning in it, a small cabin. And that small cabin will be tiny. I mean, the size of this table, and it'll have a bed that feels like this table. And they'll say, oh, we're going to stay on the boat, right? Yeah. So I'm like, and our grandkids are going to want to hang out down there all the time. So they tell us that all the time. And, we'll say, here are the pros, here are the cons. It takes away a lot of outdoor space if you have the indoor space. But, if this is the direction you want to go, let's go this direction. And they get the boat, and they come back in a year later, and we say, how often did you guys sleep on the boat? The sheets are still in the plastic wrap. Yeah. You know what I mean? Often they'll say, we actually never spent the night on the boat one time.
Grandma's back ain't made for that bed.
No, so
it's too hard.
Yeah. So
it's not comfortable sleeping in one of those small cabins.
That's a super common mistake. Even if you get a much bigger one, it's still going to have a small bed because it's a boat, and typically someone that's, let's say you're buying a boat that's $800,000, right?
You used a California King.
Yeah, I mean, if you're buying an $800,000 boat, you can get a hotel room wherever you're going. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's going to be a lot more comfortable. So that's a common mistake. Some people get boats that are they want to go offshore, but they get something that's too small. Yeah. And while it might be able to handle it offshore, it's not necessarily
It's got to be a perfect day.
Yeah. It's not comfortable when you're out there on something too little.
What happens with that too is people go offshore for that first time or something, and the weather changes, they get beat up, and they're like, "I'm getting rid of this thing, getting something bigger."
Yeah, or they're like, "I'm not going offshore."
Yeah, I don't understand why anybody would buy an offshore boat if they don't have significant experience going offshore already.
Felipe, don't you have some experience captaining a boat out in Utah or something like that?
I used to captain a boat for a swimming team in Lake Tahoe, the Trans Tahoe Relay, for years. That was pretty fun, which is harder than it sounds, even though it's a lake and there's no shoals or currents like that.
Did you have a captain's license?
No, you don't need a captain's license to drive a small boat.
Everybody else would swim, and he'd cruise next to him.
You just have to have good vision.
There's like 80 swimmers in the water, and they're all white guys between the ages of like 18 and 35. It is very difficult to tell who's your guy and who's the other one. So I get it. That was, that part I'm proud of.
It was a hard job.
Would they fire you? You don't do it anymore?
No, they got too old, man.
They got too old to swim.
You want to swim in 60-degree water, 11 miles?
I didn't want to do that when I was 18.
Exactly. So, we all get older, right?
Interesting.
But anyway, the stuff that you said makes perfect sense, right? Because you're not just selling a boat. Right. Like, you're really advising the client on getting the best experience. Just like Trey is recommending a type of roof, Brad's folks are recommending a type of insurance product, and I'm recommending an investment plan. Yeah. You have to, sometimes what they want is not what they need.
And what they think they want often isn't what they really want.
Yeah.
Right.
Sometimes though, you got to let them figure that out. It's, how people are.
Absolutely. You don't want to talk your way out of the sale.
Yeah, exactly. You're just like, hey, I'm going to help guide you. But I mean, there's a lot of
you
times
want the AC?
Yeah.
Give you the AC?
Yeah, you want the AC, you can have the AC.
How does that work with your role as like a regional manager? I mean, are you
president?
President, I'm sorry. It says general manager on the paper.
General manager,
president,
district president of West Coast.
President.
I mean, how much are you interfacing with the end clients versus the other salespeople versus how does that division of labor work?
At this point, I usually just manage the sales guys or the other managers, the service managers, the parts managers. Yeah. I do enjoy interacting with the clients still. I mean, that's something that's how I started. Started selling boats. Yeah, started down in Naples selling boats a long time ago, and then just kind of worked my way up. So, but ultimately, I still get involved with clients every day. Some people, if the engine's not working and we can't seem to get it fixed, a lot of times they want to talk to me.
It's weird how that works.
Yeah, it's funny how that works.
The old I want to speak to the president.
Yeah, it's like I want to talk to the manager. Like, unfortunately, that's me sometimes.
Right. But Karen is going to be a minute. He's on the phone.
Yeah, but overall, we've got a lot of great clients for the most part. A lot of people, they do understand. If you've been in boating for a long time, the boats break. And it's
salt water.
Yeah,
mechanics.
you're taking an engine and you're putting it in hot salt water and you're running it wide open and you're beating the shit out of it.
Right.
That's what's going to happen. If you took your S500 and you did the same thing, trust me, it's going to break.
Absolutely. All right, we're having a blast here, getting to know Jason and all about MarineMax. If you want to get to know him a little bit deeper, stay tuned for rapid fire questions fueled by food and beer.
Hey, this is Jason LeFevre, District President for MarineMax, and this is Rapid Fire.
10 random questions. 10 specific answers. Nothing off limits. This is Rapid Fire, fueled by food and beer. What's your favorite movie?
Wolf of Wall Street.
So you listen to me and you listen well. Are you behind on your credit card bills? Good, pick up the phone and start dialing.
A private jet's waiting for you on the tarmac to take you anywhere you want to go. So where are you going?
Where am I going right now? I'd say today I'd go to Vail.
If you could live the life of anyone for a week, who would it be?
That's a good one. I'd probably have to say I wouldn't mind being Leonardo DiCaprio, to be honest with you.
If you're like me, your favorite toy was a Transformer. But what was your favorite toy as a kid?
Probably Star Wars figures.
Here's the new Star Wars Death Star space station that you put together. Action figures each sold separately.
How do you like your steak cooked? Well done, medium rare, bloody, or still mooing?
Medium rare.
Slice. Rare, going on to medium rare. Delicious.
Not the POS you're driving right now, but what's your dream car?
When I was Lamborghini Countach when I was little.
Who's the go-to-goats? Tom Brady or Michael Jordan?
I'd have to say Tom Brady.
Let's go! On a rainy day, what's your go-to activity? Other than roof.
Better be strong.
Rainy day activity, I'd have to say I'm watching a movie.
Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Does pineapple belong on a pizza?
It does not.
What are you doing? Take off the pineapple from the pizza.
If you're stranded on a deserted island, would you rather be with your worst enemy or just be by yourself?
By myself.
So Aquapalooza is something I'm familiar with and actually went to last year, and I think a couple of the years you guys have done it. But Wine, Waves, and Wheels is something I actually didn't even hear about. Apparently Felipe was there, which doesn't surprise me at all.
Guy's an aristocrat, huh?
He's everywhere.
Actually, I was there with Maureen because Trey was probably sleeping.
Okay.
So she scheduled that for me.
Morgan's my wife.
with our good friend Mike from Food and Beer. So it was, it was a nice evening.
What is that event all about?
So Wine, Waves, and Wheels, it originally started years ago as kind of like a welcome back to Sarasota party, because we kind of throw it in January or end of January when it's kind of like all the snowbirds are coming back into town. A lot of our clients are coming back. So it's just an event where we give away free wine. We kind of Wine, Waves, and Wheels. I partnered up a long time ago with the Dimmitt Auto Group, and I started having them bring some of their cars. So then I was like, okay, now we got Wine and Waves and Wheels, and then we would just happen to have a bunch of big boats in the background. If somebody wanted to buy one, they could buy one. So that event's also grown to be pretty big. It's one of Sarasota's signature free luxury events, I guess you could say. We'll have 600 to 800 people roll through that one too.
Okay.
So that's a pretty cool thing. That way you get to see a lot of stuff. And then what I've noticed about here, the reason why we partnered with the car guys is most of our clients have these insane cars, and even though they take them to Starbucks, a lot of times they want an excuse to show those cars off.
Yeah, of course.
So what we do is we have a section where when we're talking to some of our clients, we'll say, hey, I know you have that Ferrari 450, whatever it is, you mind bringing it by for the event? And these guys are happy to do it. So it's kind of added a little bit of an element. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, your target audience is the guys that like their toys.
Yeah,
right?
So it's a toy fest.
Any Corvettes there or no?
There's a couple Corvettes there.
Yeah, there were. That's exactly what I noticed. I love cars, so I was having a blast. But no, they love those types of car owners, exotic owners. They love excuses to get together with other exotic owners and talk about the cars, see other cars that, because most people, maybe they have one or two exotics. They're still geeking out over everybody else's.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like a love fest.
Yeah, it's an expensive hobby, obviously, but I'd love to get into it one day.
What if you were to buy a boat, knowing everything you know about boats, if you were to go out and buy any boat right now of any size, shape, whatever, what would be your go-to?
I would buy a Boston Whaler.
I knew you would say that.
33 Outrage.
Okay.
It's not too big, not too small. I think it's the prettiest boat they've ever built. And basically, for me, I'm not a fisherman, but you don't really need to be. And that boat can do everything I'd ever want to do with it.
Yeah, it's kind of like a hybrid. It's center console, so you can go offshore still. It's got rod holders.
It's got everything I'd want. You can replace the rod holder with a drink holder. You can, it's got shade if you need it. A twin engine. I mean, it's just it's an awesome boat.
What do those things run?
33s. I mean, you can get them anywhere from used, like really used, for 200. To brand new. I think they're touching 4 and change.
Brad's a brand new guy.
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, listen, when you're buying a boat, you want a warranty. I mean, I made a decision. I had a few boats. I've had a 17-foot Key West. I had a 22-foot, I don't know, what a center console, dual engine. Can't even remember the name of it, but used, breaking down all the time. And I'm selling the boats, and until I can buy a brand new boat of whatever type, I'm not buying a boat because I want it under warranty, right?
Yeah.
I think that's good logic when you're buying a boat.
I mean, you're either going to you're going to lose the money in depreciation, or you're going to lose the money in the garage.
Yeah.
So you pick your poison.
Yep. Absolutely. What, you sold boats to start.
Mm-hmm.
What's the best boat you've ever sold? That's your question.
Probably I've been involved in some very large sales, 100-foot plus, but I haven't really been the key person.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've been the manager that's involved, and we've sold 35-foot or 35-meter. Sorry, whenever they refer to a boat in meters, it's a good one.
Yeah, it's bigger.
It's a good one. So like a 35R, which would be an Ocean Alexander. We had a couple of those come and go. But I would say when I was young, the very first boat, the second boat I ever sold was a Sea Ray 58 Dancer, and I knew absolutely nothing about the boat. I was there on a Sunday, and I had a guy walk in, and he was an old country guy. I'm still good friends with him to this day, from Kentucky. And he said he wanted to look at these big boats, and nobody else was there. So I was like, well, let's go see if we can figure out how to get on this thing. And about a week later, he pulled the trigger and bought the boat.
Right place, right time.
Yeah,
right?
I was like, right place, right time, and
This is too easy.
I was like, hey, I can see a future in this. I know. I was like, this is great.
Yeah, but you showed up to work that day.
Yeah,
right. Which
Sunday
was the
afternoon.
prerequisite on a Sunday.
Yep.
Nobody wants to work the Sundays, but
yeah,
I bet you sell a lot of boats on Sundays.
And you guys know this, being from Sarasota, you can't prejudge. I mean, this guy came in. I think he smoked 4 cigarettes in our first opening conversation. And he's got his cutoff jeans on. He's wearing a tank top that says Key West, and most people would probably walk away from that guy. Turns out he's one of the more successful businessmen in all of Kentucky.
What does he do?
He just happened to be one of my clients. I could try to explain it to you, but I know it. He owns some sort of bearing company that does something with large bearings and power plants, and
he's got his niche.
So way above my pay grade, still is, but
the check's clear there.
Yeah,
the government's checks clear, the utilities checks clear, whoever, right?
Absolutely.
But I want to tweak their question a little bit,
Sure.
because those huge 100-foot boats, that's like the commercial real estate. Those deals are few and far between. What's like the residential real estate equivalent? What's like the large consumer boat that you sell more often? That's a really nice boat.
Probably our most popular larger boat that's sold, especially in Sarasota. So Sarasota, this particular location is the #2 Boston Whaler dealer in the world. So we sell that many whalers, and we don't sell that many units. We sell them because we sell the big whalers. But like a 38 realm, like a 35 to 42 foot Boston whaler is probably our big residential type sail. That's one
like normal person boat.
Yeah, that's
really
like a kind of normal.
Person.
Like a guy that's good at what he does. That's probably
that's a $500,000 boat, right?
Those are about $1 million, a little bit over $1 million. So anywhere between 1 and 1.5.
But they're unsinkable.
Yes.
You cut them in half.
That's not your grandpa's whaler, that's for sure.
No, it's definitely not the little 15-footer.
But they're premium for a reason, we get it.
And that's your, like, Boston Whaler is kind of your staple brand, right? Like, that's kind of the one that you sell the most. I mean, obviously number 2, but that's those.
We sell a lot of Boston Whalers. We sell a lot of Sea Rays too.
Yeah.
So Sea Ray, this location here used to be called Gulfwind Marine. And it was one of the original MarineMax stores, because MarineMax was founded by a bunch of little independent dealers that all got together and created a big company. But this was one of the original stores that started back in the 50s.
What product do you want to stay away from?
As far as
boats. What brand?
Oh, brands?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't roll other brands under the bus. Well, there's so many brands in this world. I mean, the boats are kind of like they're bracketed into segments, right?
I know, but I know the shingles. I would not buy that.
I can tell you.
Put that on your roof.
Nautic Star.
Nautic Star
would be one. He won't say it, but I can say it. Nautic Star would be one.
I wouldn't disagree with you.
He's the president. He's got to be a little diplomatic, right?
Angler. A lot of these, like if they sell it at like Bass Pro Shops, and it's not a bass boat, or if they sell it, on Bee Ridge and Tuttle, it wouldn't go there. And I know just from personal experience with my cousin, one of the first boats he ever bought was an Angler, and brand new. That thing had so many issues all the time. We were going just taking it down to Blackburn Point at night fishing, night fishing and stuff. It would break, and you're not running hard. You're in no wake zones half the time. So, I would
stay away from pontoons around here. How about that?
Really?
I mean, well, I personally, on a lake or salt or freshwater, I love pontoons. I think they're super fun. It's like driving around a living room, right?
Yeah.
But in saltwater, man, those things get eaten up so fast down here. And the problem with pontoons is all the marine is like you can't keep it in the water because saltwater is going to eat that thing up to death. And then ultimately, when you go to pull it out of the water, if you're using the fork truck, if you just accidentally bump that pontoon with the fork truck, which happens a lot, you're going to dent the pontoon, and that's going to cost me at my store $7,000. So, it's
we're not pontoon fans.
I don't want pontoons.
So you're talking about the structure of the pontoon, but also the performance. I mean, one rogue wake, and that boat could be taken on water.
You're definitely not taking a pontoon out in more than 2 foot chop.
Yeah,
I mean that would not be a good experience.
Well, and hey, credit to you. One of our sponsors, Mike, keeps his boat there, and through the storms, he was storing his boat, and it was on a rack. It was outside, and it survived it. Very minor damage apparently. And I remember he was, going to see the boat for the first time after the storms, and was all nervous and things. And I asked him afterwards. He's like, "No, we're good. It's pretty, pretty solid still. Still floats, so we're good."
So you want to talk to us about some of the complications and challenges when the hurricanes start to come, and how your clients react? Well,
clients tend to get a little nervous when a hurricane's rolling through here, but I would say, that we have service racks. Our racks themselves can withstand Category 5. They're supposedly can withstand Category 5. Right. You're going to lose canvas. You're going to lose cushions. Those things are just going to go away. I mean, at the end of the day, just like we were talking about a little bit earlier, I mean, it is a toy. You got to be able to handle that. That's part of the joy of living in Sarasota. It's also one of the drawbacks. There's really not much you can do except for tie your boat up as best you possibly can, remove all your canvas, remove all your cushions, and if you have a lift at home where your boat is, pull that lift out of the water as far as it will go, just to be safe from storm surge. There's a lot of people, when a big storm's coming, they'll put their boat on a trailer, they'll run them to the middle of the state.
Did people pick up a lot of their boats from your guys' storage, or leave most of them?
Most of them stayed, and we were okay. We didn't lose any. We have 4 major racks. None of our racks came down.
Any boats come down?
Couple boats came down. Like what ended up happening was one of the racks is not there today, but it's not because it collapsed during the storm. But what happened, someone had taken their boat that was on the bottom of the rack and they had tied it to the rack. So what happened was during the storm surge, this wave was beating this boat against this metal pole for, I don't know, 6 hours or however many hours it was. And it actually compromised the rack. The rack started to tilt. So when we got to the store the next day, we noticed the rack was off, leaning, and we had about 85 boats on that rack at that time. So quickly,
forklift was running, huh?
We had two forklifts. I'm sorry, just boom, 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 just pulling boats. So
where did you put them when you took them off?
We just put them on blocks, styrofoam blocks. We put them all over the lot. We were closed after that storm. We weren't open to the public for probably 3 weeks. It took us about 3 weeks to actually get everything remotely cleaned up.
And the store itself flooding it all? Or?
Oh, yeah. The store was destroyed. Currently, we work out of a trailer.
Wow.
So we had, because there was 2 storms that came back to back. A year prior, we redid the whole store because we had about 6 inches of water in the store. Then this last 2 storms, we had probably 6 feet.
Whoa.
So it was City Island, if you know, Salty Dog, that whole area, Marine. I would imagine that entire island. I wish we had it on camera, but all the internet was out and power.
Right.
But I would say that whole island was probably underneath about 3 feet of water.
City Island became a city sandbar.
Oh yeah. It was like Atlantis.
I mean, if you had 6 foot, that's like over like your registers and computers and like
that
everything.
Was over everything.
Desks.
It's over your head.
Yep.
Is that a short joke?
So we lost seawalls. We lost. It did a lot of damage.
Bathrooms upstairs still look pretty good.
Yeah, bathrooms upstairs made it. So why we were able to get it cleaned up enough by Wine Waves and Wheels to actually have that event.
Nice.
But it was a tough one. So I think they estimate. I mean, it's north of $10 million in damage.
For just MarineMax or for
just for that location?
Holy smokes! So that's quite a few. That's 10. Yeah. That's 10. Large Boston whalers.
So insurance writes you the check yet?
Yeah, I'm not sure about the back end part of that to know how exactly that's working, but I do know that we're trying to build a new building there.
Yeah.
Currently, our new building plans are sitting down in City Hall.
Probably elevated.
Hopefully waiting to
probably
be. Yep, we're going to do elevated, and hopefully those will get improved soon.
Okay.
By the time this podcast
I mean, when they see this podcast, they're going to
they're going to stamp it.
Rubber stamp it.
Yep. Yeah, it's got to be good. Sure.
You guys' name down there.
So I understand that you got into maybe you got into boating, but you spent some time on a boat on a cruise ship. Is that kind of what got you into being on the water and boats and all?
It is. When I left college, just like most people, when you get out of college, you really have no idea what you're going to do, or at least you think you do, but you don't. And a buddy of mine worked on a cruise ship, and I asked him how he got a job doing it, and he told me, and I ended up working at sea for 2.5, 3 years, and it was an absolute blast. And then I decided, you know what, I'm just, whatever I do, I'm going to be around the water.
So that's what gave you the bug.
Prompted it, got me rolling on it.
What cruise ship did you work for?
I worked for Norwegian Cruise Lines. Okay. So I was on 4 different ships.
What did you do?
I started off as a TV coordinator, and then I was a host, and then I did some stand-up type stuff.
Stand-up comedy?
I dabbled in that a little bit.
Tell us a joke.
I thought I was a task. I pictured you like swabbing a deck or something like that. I mean, you're talking stand-up comedy.
Well, that's like,
maybe when I'm older, I'll go back.
That's the interesting thing about cruise ships is like, you want to talk about like versatile people. Like they have people that do stand-up that also like serve tables and they do everything.
McCurdy's has an open mic night.
There you go.
Hey, I have been to McCurdy's. It's
run it back. Not for open mic night though.
No, I haven't. I mean, it's been 30 years since I've made somebody laugh.
Let's do it.
How many of the crew were actually Americans? Versus, because I know there's a lot of folks from overseas that do that industry.
Not many. I'd say probably 5%. 5% between the U.S. and Canada. It's probably 5 to 7%, roughly.
And how many crew do you think would be on one of those boats when you were?
So, I remember the largest ship I worked on had a crew of 1,100. And that was, and for today's standards, though, that's not that big. You know, in today's cruise ship world, you're looking at the Wonder of the Seas. I think it's the largest ship that there is. I think the crew on that's like 2,500 people.
Wow.
That's just crew. You know, so it's, obviously you're operating a city, but it's a lot of people.
It's an interesting industry that I think, you don't hear about in other parts of the country because obviously people cruise mostly out of Florida,
Right.
or Alaska or whatever. So I love to bring that stuff up with people who have that real experience, because that's not something you hear about otherwise.
What's the craziest cruise ship story you've got? There's got to be a good one. Some crazy stuff happens out there.
Craziest cruise ship story that it depends. I guess it's PG-13. Let me start.
Yeah, PG-13 is good.
NC-17 right above it.
Yeah. The one where it's barely in the movie theater, but it still is. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, so let me see. Craziest cruise ship stories. Some of the crazier ones is you get groups that can charter the ship, and there's one vacation group that happens to be for homosexuals that would charter the ship.
Wow!
And you would have 1,500 gay men, all dressed in white, having the time of their life. And those were, sorry, I'm just choking on water here. So getting all nervous talking about the gay group. But no, those were some of the craziest things I've ever seen on the water.
Choking on something.
Well, I started laughing.
You're fine. Oh, that's good. That's rich. Bold move.
Oh, no, you've seen some stuff on those. I mean, it's like after a couple of days.
Felipe looks curious. Can you go into more detail, please?
I'm just wondering, are there any other groups that charter out the boat? Is there
there's religious groups will charter them out.
That sounds pretty wild too.
Sounds like the
opposite. It might be the opposite of the spectrum there, but you get sometimes like the NFL will have.
You should charter them together.
You just not tell them.
Half charter. You guys
Social
get together.
Social experiment.
See how it goes.
Oh boy. Oh man.
But it is one of Florida's larger industries, which is cool. But like I said, young people who don't know about it, you don't know you can work there. Like you said, there's only out of 1,200 people, 50 Americans. It's not really that many.
You've been on a few cruises, right?
Yeah, I have been on a few.
I mean, to get that job right out of college, I was super lucky. And I would recommend anybody take that job out of college. I mean, you're going to get 2 to 3 years to sail around the world, all expenses paid. Mm-hmm. You're not going to make much money, but you will.
Cool experience.
You'll definitely have a cool experience.
And you make friends from all over the world, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I still am in contact with a lot of those people.
I worked with on campaigns used to do it. That's why I know a little bit more about it.
Are you originally from Sarasota, or where are you from?
I grew up in D.C.
Okay.
But I moved down. I've been in Sarasota for 15 plus.
Okay. What brought you to Sarasota? Just the boating world?
Boat world. Yeah. There's more boats sold in the state of Florida than the other 49 combined.
Oh,
no kidding.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
You got any numbers for us?
This is, not off the top of my head, but this
even
is the
including
big leagues.
Texas in there too.
Yeah, this is the big leagues of boat sales.
Wow.
Here. I mean, there's a ton of boats sold down here.
That makes sense. We got a lot of the coastline, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think like MarineMax, we have 70 locations. 25 of them are in Florida.
Wow.
So
is your region probably one of the most important in the?
It's probably one of we probably create some of the most volume. This Southwest Florida, from Naples to Clearwater, is a massive, massive market. And then on the East Coast, Fort Lauderdale, Pompano, that Miami area, that area does really well too.
I would imagine. Yeah.
Well, being here for 15 years, you've obviously seen some of the growth and some of the changes. Yeah. So, what's your take on, the recent growth that we've seen?
Oh, it's
been good for the boat world, or what?
I think in some ways it's good for the boat world. Obviously, more people on the water. More people on the water. I think we would. I don't think the population growth has necessarily spiked boat sales as much as some people might think. I think in some ways the traffic could be a detractor for some of the people that used to come down here all the time. But overall, I mean, the growth. I welcome it for the most part. It can be tough. Sometimes when I'm sitting in traffic, I realize
driving out to City Island is not easy.
That's the challenge. I've been doing that. I've been going around St. Armand's Circle for, twice a day for 15 years.
Wow.
So I'm familiar with season and getting back over the bridge. So it's been a lot. It's getting a little bit worse every year. Not much you can do
besides wait, but at least maybe. I mean, you've been going around that circle at St. Armand's for so long. At least maybe you've got some expertise on this next question that my man Trey's got for you.
Good so segue. with a background in roundabouts,
right?
We want to know what your thoughts are on roundabouts in general. They're popping up everywhere. Do you love them or do you hate them?
Oh, look at the roundabout. I will say this about roundabouts. If you know what you're doing, they're unbelievably efficient.
Agreed.
That's pretty much my statement on that. I think, unfortunately, you notice in Sarasota, it only takes one person that doesn't know what they're doing. So, but overall, I will have to say, when they first started putting the roundabouts in, I thought to myself, this is going to be a disaster. But then I do find that it does seem to speed things up quite a bit, unless you do have somebody that plows in there that has no idea what the yielding situation is.
I think Felipe gets a little confused on the yielding sometimes.
So
based on
just hit the gas. What are you talking about?
based on where you live and where you're hitting that one at Fruitville and whatever 41, 301, whatever that is right there. That one every day. Yep. That one right there can be a little bit,
See,
interesting.
That one is challenging.
There it is.
That one's challenging, right? But we forget what it used to be like there.
I know.
It used to be backed up nuts to butts for miles.
Right.
And imagine with the growth now how bad that traffic would be if they didn't take that step to put the roundabout there.
I just think maybe if the city can offer free roundabout driving clinics, maybe a couple times
hosted
a year,
by Sarasota SpeaX.
Whatever it takes.
Education is key.
Education's the key.
We'll give them a real friendly government discount.
I know there is somebody that's got a camera on one of those
Jesse.
buildings.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jesse.
We've had him on, and
yeah,
it's a well-known camera.
I follow that one on Instagram.
Oh, it's SRQ Circles. It's the best.
I mean, sometimes you're averaging 2 accidents a day.
And it's
on a good day.
And it's always easy to watch, being like, how'd that happen? But and then you're in the traffic circle or the roundabout, and you can see how that would happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're like, people freaking out, people getting nervous, people not knowing when to stop, when to go, or just yielding when they shouldn't yield, like Felipe might do sometimes, according to Trey. I don't know.
The GPS, I found when you approach the roundabout, you got to take the GPS and put it down.
Yeah.
And live in the real world.
Yeah. Well, I think what happens on these roundabouts too is, like, if you're not familiar with the area, you don't know that I have to stay in this lane in order
to get up
take
there.
The
and then before you know it, you're in the inside lane. Like, I got to get out.
I can't.
I'll just bump into the car next to me.
Yeah. So that's where we educate. So if you do find yourself in that position, here's what you do: you stay in the inside lane. You go around as many times as it takes until you can clearly get over into the other lane. If there's traffic blocking you, just keep circling, and you'll eventually find your way out of that.
Swallow your pride.
You'll
just
be
like
okay.
European vacation.
But Trey did not mention that our roundabout sponsor is Tominator Law, who's an accident attorney, great guy. You kind of touched on it earlier. Why we really ask about the roundabouts is it's a proxy for asking about growth and change.
Right.
And I'm just curious, from your vantage point, with all the traffic on the water and more people down here, are you seeing an uptick in those types of accidents that occur with more crowded boating?
Accidents on the water, I don't see many accidents at all. Believe it or not.
They're not coming to you with damaged boats after they wreck their new boat.
Believe it or not, I've always kind of been surprised, because you don't have to have, technically, any of us can walk into a boat dealership and buy a boat.
Take it out on the water.
Take it out on the water. And you can choose to insure it or not insure it if you paid in cash. And I've always thought, wow, that's kind of, I can't believe they just let people do that. But
it's American.
You know what I mean?
It's way harder to drive on the water than it is the roads, too. The signs and nothing is like, nothing says stop, right? Like, it's not clear. It's like, oh, there's a red sign, there's a green one. What's those ones mean?
Yeah, and am I going out to sea, or am I coming back?
What does shoal? What does shoal mean?
Am I going north? Am I going south? Am I in intercoastal? All of those things. And I know, believe it or not, some of the people around here that have large boats, they don't like to pay attention to directions.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, even though we do offer free classes.
Oh, you guys do?
Yeah, we do.
There you
we
go.
offer free classes to anybody that wants to come in to learn to go boating, but a lot of times it's
Is that just a boater safety course, or is that like
we have women on water,
okay,
where that's free to anybody that wants to know how to, not anybody, any woman
right?
on water, so that makes sense.
Let's not even go there.
Don't get any ideas, Felipe.
That's a whole nother show. And then you have, we've got women on water, but we also have intro to boating classes. But we have found, like with some of the men, we can't call it intro to boating. We have to call it advanced boating, because a guy.
I don't need the intro.
Yeah, the guy's not going to go to the intro course, right? He thinks we're handing out cookies.
It's really advanced parenthesis ego.
Yeah. It's like so that we have to spin it that way. But if you've got enough money to have a big yacht, just get a captain. Just make everyone's life easier.
Anything over like 40 foot, somebody else should drive.
Yeah, there's nothing less enjoyable, at least for me, than operating a large boat, and all of my friends are having a great time. And
are you kidding me? A small boat?
Yeah.
It doesn't. It could be a 20-foot center console, and the driver of the boat's the only one not having fun because you're looking out for everything, especially anchoring or docking or anything like that. It's
take
high
that
alert.
stress away, and I'm good to
I
go.
have some buddies who grew up in Key Biscayne, so they grew up on boats, and what they do is they take turns. So it's basically like, all right, today you're responsible.
Right.
Next weekend I'm the responsible party, and we'll go on my boat.
That's the fair way to do it,
which is nice.
Yeah.
Well, Felipe, that leaves you, buddy. I'll leave it to you for our closing question, and I think he's got some probably clients and friends and neighbors that he might be able to recommend.
Very cool. Well, you've been on Sarasota SpeaX. You see what we do here. Thank you again. Who do you know who we may not know who Sarasota needs to know? Who can we invite on Sarasota SpeaX?
I think my buddy, Mr. Frank Thomas Jr. He lives next door to me. Actually not Frank Thomas Jr. It's Frank Thomas Sr. So maybe I'll put a little bird in his ear and see if I can get him to come downtown.
He's got one of our cards somewhere. I know he kept
Trey, what do you put in his pocket? What do you have to say about that, Trey?
We'll hit the circle together.
In his wallet.
We'll hit the circle together.
Check your DMs, pal.
Check your DMs, Frank.
Very cool. Any other suggestions?
What about clients?
You might as well call Urban Meyer. He's one of our clients.
Urban's already agreed. He's agreed to come on before.
He's a good client.
Trying to get him scheduled one of these days. But
so I don't want to name drop a lot of these guys, but there's some pretty successful people in here from a business world that I know that you guys would love to talk to.
Well, we know how to reach you now, so when we're looking for some folks, we'll be in touch.
I could just pull up our Rolodex and realize there's some big hitters in there.
There you go. Well, Jason, thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate it,
guys.
We'll see you at Aquapalooza.
Awesome. See you guys at Aquapalooza. I'll set you up on a boat.
Deal.
All right.
All right.